So we really need to give our game some kind of purpose. And what we're going to do with this is add some objects for the player to collect, and then an escape route as well. So if we create a sprite, I'm just going to create a simple sprite here. This is going to be 16 by 16, and I might actually make the width 8, so 16 by 8. That's going to be some kind of little document, and I'll zoom in on this. I'll just make it that there, and I'll put some lines on it here, like that. Okay, so there's my document, and I'll make this top left corner a bit bigger. Grab that. Okay, so there's my little document that I've got to collect, and we're going to make a few of these. So I'm just going to center that and click, I'll rename this SPR document, and click the OK button. I will go into objects and add a new object here, and this object is called document, which I think I made a mistake. Oh no, I didn't. I called it sprite document. It's going to have that there. And now the goal for this object is to have it randomly spawn in a location in the room. Now I'm going to give you this starting code for that. We're going to put create, and I would like you to have a look at, it should be the enemy patroller, set up initial path, and this code here. Now what you can do with this code here is modify it so that it sets the X and Y position of this object to somewhere in the room and checks to see if the place is free. And if it's not free, then it'll just repeat it again. So you can modify this code. So you'll need to think about, well, we don't need enemy target X. We actually just want to change it to the X and the Y of the enemy. But you won't be able to use place free, because as soon as you put something, move that X and Y of the document to that position, what you're going to have is it won't be free anymore. So you will have to check place meeting and check to see if it's meeting a wall. It doesn't really matter if it's in front of an enemy, because the enemies are going to be moving. You just want to check place meeting and check the position of that, and have a look at how place meeting works. So I'm going to pause the video and get my documents working, and I'm going to leave that code up to you. So I can demonstrate this to you now. I've just put the object document in here. By the way, you'll need to check if not place meeting. If place meeting will say, yes, there's something here, you want to make sure that it's nothing there. So not place meeting. If I run this, you'll see, well, it appears down there this time. If I run it again, I probably should put some shortcut key in that just resets the room. But if I run it again, well, now it appears here. And just try one more time for good measure. It appears up there, and none of those three places there were inside the room at all, so that seems to be working really well. Now we need to get the collision sorted for our room, and I need to sort out the collision on that. So I'm just going to pause it for a second. Alright, so to do this part of the code, we're going to open up our object player, add an event, a collision with the object document, and then we're going to add in code. Check if all documents are collected. Now there are multiple ways to do this. You might decide that you want to have a counter and know how many obstacles are in the room to start with. That's one way to do it. But you can also just check to see if any of these instances exist. So first of all, actually we need to destroy this instance. Instance destroy. Okay, so when we with other instance destroy. Okay, so that will destroy the other object, in this case the object document. We don't want to destroy the player when they touch a document. If instance exists, and I think that this works, if instance exists, okay, so object document. We actually want to check if there's none left. So the way to do that is keeping in mind that this is a function that's going to return true or false. I know it will return true or false because if I go to the help menu and look up instance exists, it says it returns Boolean. Now Boolean is a true or false value. Okay, so what it does is we check that function, put an object into its argument there and say, are there any object documents? And it will say true, there are some, or false, there are none. And so we can use this true or false. So if it exists, I want to find out if there's none. So I want to say if there's none, if not instance exists. Or I could do this, which might be more readable. If instance exists equals false, that means there's no object documents. Then we're going to put the create the exit or getaway car. Create the getaway car. Now these documents could just as easily be diamonds or something else. Depends on the theme that we're going to go for. In the next video, we're going to have a look at just finalizing the game scene here, so getting the player to actually lose, and then adding in some sprites and graphics. So we've got here create the getaway car, which we'll do at another time. So we can just put in a debug message down the bottom, show debug message, all items collected, time to get away, and we'll just leave that down there, and that'll show up down the bottom here. Now if we check this, we should be able to, by the way, I've turned off the fog and the views, so it's just a bit more easier to handle on here. So if I go and get that, oh, I haven't made the collision for that. Okay, so it says down the bottom, oh, game over because my health is below that. Let's just set up the collision here. Collision with the bullet. Add event. Let's have a look at this. What have I done? Step, that's find player. I'm just going to take a step event from here. Execute a piece of code. No, that's not right. Collision with object bullet. I'm just going to take all of this and go add event, collision with object bullet, and paste that into there. Probably should name that. Bullet collision. All right. So I should be able to destroy those now, and we'll check and see if it works. Okay. The document's down here. Okay, so it says down the bottom there, all items collected, time to get away. So instead of that debug message, I can put in the code that will make a getaway car maybe appear down in the bottom left-hand corner or somewhere where I put a road. So that's all ready to go. And that's all for this video. So next video, we're just going to finalize a few things and then get our game sorted. Now I can put more of these object documents in the room. I'm just going to manually place them. And it doesn't matter where I place them because it's going to randomize their locations. So I've got two pretty close together here. I can try and avoid those other enemies. 1, 2, and then if I get the last one, notice it hasn't said anything down the bottom. There we go. All items collected, time to get away. So there is that way of doing it, just checking to see if the instance exists rather than having a counter, because I could have 50 in the room, the code doesn't need to change. If I have like a counter that says every time I collect one, reduce the counter by 1 until the count is equals 0, well then I've got to change that number and keep track of how many I've got in the room. So next video, we'll finalize a few things in here and get ready to start adding some graphics.